For today's task, we're going to be looking at the angles of a triangle. The three angles of a triangle add up to 180. So looking at my example number one, the way I'm going to solve for x, I'm going to add everything, x plus 46 plus 80 plus 60, add everything, all three angles, and this is equal to 180. The way I'm going to solve for x, the left side of the equal sign, I'm going to simplify it. I can combine those like terms. I'm not doing anything to the x. Now 46 plus 80 plus 60, that is 186. So I have that x plus 186 equals 180. Let me subtract 186 on each side. So I get that x is equal to -6. Now looking at example number two, the same thing here it is as number one. I'm dealing with all the three angles of a triangle. So I'm going to add everything, x plus 60 plus x plus 75 plus 55. I'm adding everything. It is equal to 180. The left side of the equal sign can be simplified. 1x plus 1x, that's 2x. 60 plus 75 plus 55, that is 190. This is equal to 180. Now, to get the 2x by itself, let me subtract 190 from each side. So we get the 2x is equal to -10. That means x must be -5. The only thing here is that I'm not asking for what's the value of x. I'm asking you to find the measure of angle A. I notice that angle A, it's at this corner, which is x plus 60. So now that I know what x is, I'm looking at what's -5 plus 60, and that gives me 55. Now, when I give you guys two triangles, as a matter of fact, let me change one of these questions. There you go. When I give you guys these two triangles, always start with the one triangle that you know two measurements. So I'm going to be looking at this triangle. I know two angles, 60 and 40. If I add 60 and 40, that gives me 100. So I'm going to add the two angles given. I'm going to subtract it from 180. And my result, in this case 80, that is the third angle. Now, here I see an x. Here it is my x. Opposite angles are congruent, or in English, opposite angles are equal. So if the top angle is 80, I'm going to say the bottom angle is 80. Now, when I'm looking at the bottom triangle, I know two angles, 80 and 55. I'm going to add those two. That gives me 135. Subtract it from 180. So once again, I combine the two angles that I had. I'm subtracting it from 180, and that gives me 45. So the angle that I'm looking for is 45. Same thing with number four. I'm going to start with a triangle that has two angles given, in this case 80 and 27. If I add those two numbers, that gives me 107. Subtract it from 180, and that will give me 73. So that means this angle here, it is 73. Now here I have a rule that these three angles, I'm doing it in blue, these three angles, it's half of a circle, so that's 180. I know 73 plus 47, the two angles that I have, 73 plus 47, if I add them, that gives me 120. Let me subtract that from 180, and I'm gonna get that this angle here is 60. Now to finish this question, I'm gonna look at this green triangle. I have two angles, 75 and 60. Let me add those two angles, 75 plus 60, that gives me 135. Let me subtract it from 180, that gives me 45. So this angle here, it is 45. Now here for question number 5, I see an X. There is my X. Vertical angle theorem says when there's an x formed, opposite angles are equal to each other. So I'm just going to say 4x equals 76. So to solve for x, let me divide both sides by 4. 76 divided by 4 in this case is 19. X equals 19. Now looking at number 6, that's not an x, right? If I ignore this part because it has nothing to do with my angles, I notice that this angle and this other angle are the two angles of a line, or together basically form half of a circle. So that means they add up to 180. X plus 23 plus 5x plus 1, right? I'm going to add those two angles. In this case is equal to 180. When angles combine make an angle of a line, they add up to 180. Now the left side, I'm going to combine my like terms. 1x plus 5x, that's 6x. 23 plus 1, that's 24. And this is equal to 180. Let me subtract 24 from each side. So I get that 6x equals 180 minus 24. That is 156. Let me divide both sides by 6. 156 divided by 6 gives me, let's see, 26. So there's my answer.